bring the chat up in case you guys want to say anything. Okay, awesome. So welcome to the webinar, How to Reflect Who You Truly Are in Your Home, by me, Bianca Mastro-Totaro, founder of Enchanted Living Spaces. This is me, Bianca. I am a home energy clearer, a Feng Shui practitioner, a decluttering coach, an animal and planet lover, and I am an earth and metal dominant element. And you'll find out soon what your dominant element is. But here's a picture of me and my dog, Evie. We just recently added another animal, Loki, to our crew. So things have been hectic here around the house, and we just bought a house, me and my boyfriend, last month. So everything has been absolute chaos all over the place, getting bit by my new dog, trying to run a business and work my day job still. So that is me. If you guys want to type in the chat where you are from, you totally can. If not, that's cool. We can keep moving on from here. So in today's webinar, we're going to be going over what each of the elements are, and these are Chinese elements. They are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And each of these elements have different personality types. They appear differently within our home. They also represent certain times of the day, certain seasons, certain phases of lives. And today, what I wanted to tell you about is help you find out more about which element or which elements, because you can have 1, 2, or 3 dominant elements, as you will learn more about in your life and how they are in your home. Oh, Joan just responded. She's from the north coast of Wales in the United Kingdom. Wow, that's awesome. Welcome. And thank you, Paul and Gina, for being here. That's awesome. So the 5 elements, like I said before, water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, they are used heavily in acupuncture and Feng Shui. They're based from this ancient Chinese method of using the 5 elements as they appear on the planet, within people. And the point of knowing about them and seeing them in our homes is basically to create the perfect harmony and balance within yourself, within your home, and within the world. So I definitely noticed when I was younger that I was more of a fire element personality. As you will learn, we have qualities of each of the elements within ourselves, but sometimes different ones are more dominant than others. But at the core, we have 1 to 3 dominant elements, and sometimes they don't appear until later on down the road. Okay, so knowing our dominant elements, this will help us find out why we're attracted to certain people, environments, and activities that align with our dominant elements. And a huge key is knowing how to stay balanced, because when you're imbalanced and you have certain dominant elements, you're prone to different diseases and certain emotional responses, which we'll go over later. And these imbalances can occur from pent-up emotions, illnesses, overall eating and health habits, and being surrounded by too many opposing elements in both the environment and in the people that you surround yourselves with. So let's get started. So the first type is the water element. These are the philosophers and the thinkers. The season that they represent is winter, which is also representative of hibernation. The kidneys associated with the water element, the organs that are associated with the water element are the kidneys and the bladder. And then the emotion effects that water elements tend to exert is fear. Waters tend to use fear in decision-making and have a really hard time moving past it. Let's get more into the personality. Waters are great, deep conversationalists. They don't like to waste time talking about topics that don't matter to them. They want to engage in more meaningful, sincere conversations about important topics. And these are important topics to them. all water elements will have their own important topics, whether they think that music is really important or world hunger is really important. So if you're talking about, a movie that you just saw, they might end up zoning out because that's not an important topic to them. Water minds are contained with mastery, and they often appear as writers, song composers, or even directors. A famous water element that I can name is Kurt Cobain. The water elements really enjoy sound, pitch, vibration, and music can be very healing to them and bring them out of sadness and depression. It's really, really therapeutic to them because they connect with the artistry of the words and the sound and the beauty behind it. Water types definitely need their own space to think, discover, and feel safe, both in their home and out and about. So they like to do activities such as maybe going to Lowe's or Home Depot by themselves so they can really think and be in a safe environment that they enjoy. And then also at home, they like to feel safe. So they usually tend to have their own little area, which can actually be very messy. Water people tend to thrive in cluttered places, and that totally works for them. Some of us other elements might be like, how can you work in this area when there's papers all over the place and clothes all over the place? But water people tend to thrive in cluttered areas. So they really enjoy the arts, being playful. They love music, and they can really see the small details that make something spectacular or beautiful. My mom is a water person, and whenever we watch a movie, I tend to get mad at her because I think we were watching like Lord of the Rings a couple of years ago, and she was pointing out how beautiful the curtains and the scenery was. And I was like, what in the world? Like, concentrate on the movie. Why are you looking at the curtains right now? But they really do notice beauty and in absolutely everything, in the small details. They're very, very creative and artistic. And they are also very calm people. They do not like to hurry, and they run at a slower rhythm. They're basically if they were an animal, they would probably be a turtle. Very slow, but also very wise. They're prone to missing appointments, failing to prioritize timelines and people. And this can definitely offend a lot of the other elements because it's almost like it's not that they don't respect the time of others, but they just run at a slower pace. Physically, waters can appear a little bit messy. They can have wrinkled clothing, half tucked in shirts. They can be unmatched because they just want to be comfortable. So these are the people that are wearing super old, beat up, sneakers and shoes because they are super comfortable to them. So looks and appearance tend to fall to the back line for a water person because there are better things to be thinking about and doing. So there are two types of water people, and this is the only element that has two different types within itself. So if you are a water, you either are one or the other, or you can have a little bit of both. So the first water type is the philosopher. These are the deep thinkers, as we described above. They like to ponder. They like to seek out the meaning of life. They spend time in their own minds. They love reading, writing, and journaling. They're opposed to large crowds, and they're very interested in the past, in history, different countries, different events, different centuries. They are interested in this because they can understand the present by truly knowing the past. And when meeting new people, they're always interested in finding out their lineages, what happened to them in the past, so that they can make sense of who they are today. Like if someone has a certain quality about them and they don't understand why the person is like that, they will pick at it until they can find out the source of it. Oh, this happened to you as a child, so now I understand why you're acting like this. The second personality type of a water is the child. These are the people that are full of awe. They're always wanting to cuddle and giggle and be playful, and they're very curious. They can be very spontaneous and lighthearted. It's almost like an adult that has a childlike eagerness and can also contain a very cute naivety. They like to follow the crowd, but they also like to befriend strangers. But this personality can have a hard time following through and taking action with their ideas. In general, this is a very difficult thing for the water personality, and they have a hard time doing things themselves. Sometimes they can expect others to take care of them, which can potentially lead to others viewing them as a little bit selfish or narcissistic. But waters, they tend to get lost in the chaos of life, and they're overwhelmed by themselves. They have so many ideas. There's so many details. They get so overwhelmed that they do nothing. I don't know if any of you resonate with that, but, life can be hard when you have a lot of things going on in your head. It's easy to get overwhelmed and implement things. So the best thing, if you are this type of water person, is to meet up with a wood person, which we'll get into after, because wood people, they might not be the most creative like the water person, but they're great implementers. So if you could, merge the water's ideas with the wood's implementation, that is absolutely key and perfect, and shit will get done with when you have those two in the mingle. So sometimes when water people can't comprehend life due to like stress and difficulties, life can actually physically seem distorted to them. I saw an example on this. It's almost like when they get so stressed out, it's like an example would be them being in a pool underwater looking up, and everything is a little bit distorted. They can see people and interactions going on from underneath the pool, but everything is distorted to them. And then they can go, deep within themselves and feel very secluded and alone, which makes them prone to depression. So, if you're in a different element, with the waters see, hear, and feel things differently than the other elements, because things become distorted when they're stressed out. They can have a really hard time trusting people, and they tend to overlook what others have done for them and notice more of what they have not done. So this can lead to them suffering from low energy, and the water element can definitely be the most difficult of the 5 elements to grasp for the other elements. So if you're in out of balance water, definitely try and bring yourself back. Think about what motivates you. Is it exercise, group of friends, music, an activity? Definitely remind yourself to befriend a wood person. And you can also add some fire people in there, because ideas and fire, which would be passion, can also go to great places. So make sure, if you seem out of balance and you're a water person, they tend to enjoy being alone, and they do need time to withdraw and to surrender to some internal conflicts, but don't socially isolate yourself or get trapped in your own head. Definitely, again, befriend a wood person. So let's move on. Did anyone resonate with the water person? I know, Gina, you had mentioned before that you had thought that you were a water person. Joan, did you resonate with that at all? All right, I'll give you guys time to respond, but let's move on to the water element. The wood element. So the wood archetypes are the pioneers, the soldier, the visionary. The season that it represents is the spring. When the woods tend to have an emotional response, it tends to be anger, which can lead to blame and accusations of others. Okay, Joan just responded. She said only in part. So we actually have all of these elements within our bodies and within our personalities. And so you're going to see a little bit of characteristics in each of these from yourself. But you'll have, like I said, 1 to 3 that are like, holy cow, that it's me up and down. So the organs associated with the wood personality are the liver and the gallbladder. So what does the wood personality look like? Woods always see the big picture. They love finding solutions. They seek out the best things in life and make changes often. They tend to be strong, sturdy, stable, fearless, logical, reasonable, bold, independent, and unapologetic. They can be very fair-minded, and injustices upset them greatly. If they see any injustices going on, whether it's human-to-human interaction, human-to-animal interaction, or just unfairness in general going on, they'll get super upset from that. Their main goal in life is to organize the world. They are the doers. They're turning ideas into action. They're getting shit done. Then they're taking on the next project. And sometimes they try and get projects done so quickly that they overlook the key steps to getting the project done correctly because they just want to get it done. Nothing stands in their way when they are determined. They see what they want, they're very decisive about it, and they make things happen and push themselves to the limits. They enjoy debates and arguments and are not easily swayed by others' opinions. They make up their own minds, and little can convince them that they are wrong because they believe that they are right. In appearance, they don't like to be super fussy. They enjoy low-maintenance lives, and they actually do really great under pressure. So again, this is another element that is more concerned with, comfort, because there's more things in life that matters, like getting projects done. Respect and loyalty mean everything to a wood person, and patience is not their strong suit, so wasting time will drive them up a wall. Unfinished business will leave a wood person feeling restless. They need to finish projects they start like yesterday if they could. The dominant emotion from stress that leads wood is anger. They tend to always have a lingering subconscious anger that boils up quickly, especially if they see unfair situations or mistreatment of people. So ideally, if you are a wood personality type, if you can find a way to be flexible instead of becoming rigid and potentially breaking, that would be absolutely key. Another thing is woods need to be well rested. They need to move around. They love to enjoy the company of their friends versus spending time alone. Finding vulnerability can be also very hard for a wood person. But if they did, they would have the world at their hands. Woods that can stretch their minds and open their hearts and evolve their spirits can improve their lives and their power dramatically because they're such loyal people and they're so fair-minded. If they didn't have that, lingering anger there, people would respect them a lot more and definitely have less fear when relating to them. Because there's nothing worse than someone blowing up on you and you don't even know how that happened in the first place. So when in balance, the wood people, they make great coaches. They're super resourceful, very decisive, clear communicators, great at seeing the big picture. They're authentic, they're down to earth, they're generous, honest, kind, and fair. They can also fall into the category of workaholics. But if the wood doesn't feel in control of their daily life and focus on achieving their goals, they can definitely find themselves in a grumpy mood. Sometimes, for example, my boyfriend is a wood person. He tends to come home grumpy a lot from work because if something had gone wrong that day and hindered him getting his tasks done, which tends to happen often, he just gets totally pissed off, and it takes him usually the rest of the night to cool off until the next day. So that kind of sucks. So with the wood people is what you see is what you get. What they are thinking comes right out of their mouths. They speak the truth and they don't filter any words, which can make relationships and business tough. It's hard for them to make small talk or be politically correct, and it's not against their nature to cross-examine people and see how far they can push them because they like to find out what makes people tick. If there's a problem, they point it out and they say it out loud for all to hear. They aren't concerned about hurting people's feelings or softening a blow because that feels like censorship to a wood person, and they are all about honesty. So like I said before, in a relationship and in business, this can be hard because sometimes you have to appease to people and not lie, but sometimes you have to say certain things to, warm the other person up or just appease to like your boss's authority. And like I said, that feels like dishonesty to a wood person, so they can have a very hard time with that. So let me know if you guys resonate with any wood element in you. And then we can move on to fire. So like I said before, you're going to see traits of yourself within each of these elements, but there's going to be one or a couple that stand out, and you will totally be like, yes, that's me. So let's move on to the fire element type. These are the wizards, the unconditional lovers, the comedians, the life of the party. Robin Williams is a great example of a fire element, and so is Ellen DeGeneres. So the season that they represent is the summer, and the organs they're associated with is the heart, the pericardium, the triple warmer, and the small intestines. And their stress response is panic. The fire people tend to be very slim, athletic, have fast metabolism. They can eat whatever they want and never gain a pound because they burn a lot of energy. They can tend to have curly or frizzy flyaway hair, and sometimes even red hair. Fires are very carefree people, but that doesn't mean that they don't care. They are present in the moment more than any of the other elements. They're not tethered to what happened yesterday or what could happen tomorrow. Unlike the wood person that we just went over, they're always getting projects done, but they're worried, they're doing it in terms of the future. Fires have a zest for life. They're always in positive spirits. They're super playful. They're not scared to hug, touch, and get up right in your personal space. They change very frequently. They're always finding new interests, gravitating towards anything that gives them pleasure and passion, and they're always on to the next adventure. They love to make others laugh. These are the people cracking jokes all night and asking to play one more song so that they can dance to at the end of the night. They lead their lives with love and passion. They're super fun. They're easygoing. They're exciting. They can win personality contests, and they tend to bounce around from group to group and make friends everywhere that they go. And they can also remind us other elements that life really can be a big celebration. Everything has its ups and downs, but altogether these fire people are living in the moment, and they're living their lives to the best of their ability, and they're having fun doing it. They're rarely embarrassed as they see life as a grand experience. They don't care about how they look, and you can sometimes see them in very, very flashy clothing. These are the people going to the gym, probably the guys going to the gym in like a neon yellow leotard, and they don't care what anyone thinks about them. They're just being them. Fire people love to be seen. They can often appear as actors, singers, dancers, and they're always filled with a lot of energy. These are the people that have huge hearts and embrace everyone, and they love feeling love and giving it out too. They love to inspire joy in people and entertain them and make them laugh. They want others to be happy, and they feel good about themselves when others are shining out there in the world too. They would rather enjoy life than do what one should do. So these can appear as the people that actually don't plan for the future at all. Maybe right out of high school, instead of going, worrying about college, they wanted to, go on a worldly adventure and go and do what they felt was right for them at that moment, even though some of us other elements don't think that that's the right thing to do. They don't care. They can be very impulsive because they follow what feels good as opposed to analyzing situations, because they're so stuck in the now that they don't want to think about the future. As long as they're happy now, everything is good with them. They're very good about coming up with distractions to avoid dark conversations. So if you get someone like a water personality who's in a very bad mood, they're feeling very insecure, they're very in their heads, these fire people can help to bring them out of those, deep, dark moods that they can get into with distractions. Fire people can also interrupt conversations and hurt people's feelings without meaning to. Due to them also being very unfiltered, they're constant talkers, and sometimes they can be seen as inappropriate, but they're just being a fire person. They can be like roller coasters, up and down energetically, but they always, bounce back pretty well. They tend to take on a lot of, responsibilities and commitments. They overschedule themselves morning to night, and they find it very difficult to say no. They also tend to suffer from insomnia, anxiety, and feelings of internal chaos. They tend to panic over small issues that would not affect the other elements. And when they do, they get symptoms like sweaty palms, rapid heart rate, illogical thinking, and start to imagine the worst case scenarios because they have difficulty seeing the future. So their mind just goes right to the worst. And as I mentioned before, they tend to take on too much. So they're prone to crashing, and it's very important for them to stay balanced, learn how to say no. And sometimes, learning that it's okay to actually plan for the future, because if planning for the future is good. It gives you something to look forward to and gives you some, beautiful goals that you want to achieve in your life. So let me know if you guys resonated with that at all. Oh, that's awesome. You did a lot of inner work. I've been doing a lot of inner work too over the past few years, Joan. And, definitely what that really means is if you do have any of those traits without the negative emotions, is that you are becoming more balanced. So, when we hear these negative things about each of the elements, it's them being out of balance that tends to happen. And again, some life experience might happen that throws you off your groove and you get put into a sadness, but that's all normal. These negative emotions, when they're seen in daily life, means you're probably out of balance if you do relate to that element. So that's awesome. I'm glad you've been, ridding yourself of some things. We all should, to reach, our best selves. So let's go on to the earth element. So I am actually heavily an earth element and a metal element with a hint of other elements in there, but these are the earth and the metal are my two for sure. Okay, so the earth element. These are the mummies, the teachers, the caretakers. The season that they represent are actually the equinoxes and solstices, which are the times of transitions. The organs associated with the earth element are the stomach and the spleen, and the stress response of the earth person is worry. And sometimes they tend to worry so much that it leads to enabling others and codependent relationships. So throughout history, these are the people that have healed the wounded, saved the environment, sacrificed themselves for others, served the masses, and have created peace projects to better the planet. Earths love to create communities and help people feel safe and loved. They're always giving their attention to people who need help, who might be falling behind, or those who need special attention to thrive, and they don't want anyone to feel excluded. They have a strong love for all living beings, the animals, the people, the earth, the trees. Everything is alive to them and living, and they give their love to everything. Earths love comfort both physically and environmentally, and they love to comfort others. They throw everything they can into nurturing their relationships, and they also love making homemade items. These are the people that might be interested in quilting, sewing, gardening, cooking, painting, and making anything else homemade. They love to do it. They tend to have a difficult time charging for their services if they are self-employed, and find it hard to work for big companies or corporations. Earths also have, as a fun little note, they have a hard time packing light. They tend to over-plan for everything and anything to happen. They always have extra food and tend to stash some away for later and seem to hold on to weight even if they do diet. But Earths are great listeners, and they often get caught in difficulties between people because of their nature to listen to both sides. The key there is balance. You know, they want to hear each side of the story. They want to make sure everyone feels heard and safe, and hold a space of calm during, you know, difficulties. But this can appear as very wishy-washy to people, and Earth people can sometimes take the fall for hearing both sides of the story because they're not actually taking a side. And this is because, you know, not only do they tend to lack in assertiveness, but they also never want to embarrass anyone or make anyone feel bad. Earths can also hold a space of calm during times of transitions, and their homes can be like a safe place for all. They tend to be filled with knickknacks and a lot of whimsical items, and they take in, you know, those in need. They're very hospitable. Their goal in life is to make everyone feel loved. They accept others for who they are and welcome them without judgment for all of their traits. They believe love is what makes the world go round, and live by that through all of their actions. Earths actually make great workers. They aren't workaholics like the wood, but they encourage others to take a load off and relax while they take on the job and do it well, because they take great pride in being dependable. But because Earths are so giving, they tend to lack self-nurturing qualities. So they tend to let their needs fall, you know, to the last priority. They set their needs aside and desires for others. If someone called an Earth, well, you know, maybe they had plans to go get a manicure, get their hair done, they would probably drop it just to go and, you know, fulfill the other person's needs, because they're always putting other people before themselves. And they can be stubborn about asking for help because they don't want to be a burden on anyone. So what would help an Earth person is to separate themselves from the outcomes of other people's business. You know, it's one thing to be supportive and to be compassionate, but by being overly compassionate, overly supportive, you know, this can make the Earth people not only become super worried, but almost afraid. They're afraid, they're worried all the time. So if they could separate themselves from the outcomes, they would be on the path to becoming balanced. Earths are also very resistant to change. They have a hard time digesting emotions. They go over thoughts again and decisions again over and over, and have a hard time letting go and moving on. Sometimes these can be the people that end up staying in verbally or physically abusive relationships because they hate change so much. And they tend to see the best in everyone and hope for change, which is why they can also be enablers. Their worry can even turn into guilt about not helping someone enough or being there for them enough, and they tend to over apologize even when it wasn't their fault. They can find themselves being enablers around of those around them. And they definitely become wrapped up in others' feelings so much that they become too involved, intrusive, and can create dysfunctional, codependent relationships. So that's the Earth person. Did anyone see any of that within themselves? Let me just read what Joan said here in the chat. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Good for you, Joan. But that's funny. I wonder if you are an Earth element type. I think a lot of us females in like the spiritual realm tend to be the Earth people because we're very, you know, empathetic, and we definitely care about a lot of stuff. But I'm glad that you don't worry anymore. Mine only gets triggered here and there. Yes, that's good. I'm glad you embrace change because it's a part of life. So like I said, you are probably on the path to getting balanced. If not, you probably are already balanced. So any of these like negative qualities are only when the element is out of balance. So let's move on to the metal element. So this is my second dominant element. These are the yogis, the alchemists, the people that are on a spiritual journey, a conscious journey throughout their lives. The season that they represent are the fall and autumn. They're all about letting go. The organs that govern metal are lungs and the large intestines, and their stress response is grief, which can lead them to detachment and becoming aloof, especially towards people. So metals easily let go of what no longer is needed in their lives, especially with people. They embrace change and feel like anything that doesn't serve them any longer will be released at its rightful time on their journey in life. They release anything that is unnecessary to them, such as distractions, toxic thoughts, items in their house that they no longer need, and people. They tend to be very orderly and stoic and strive for perfection. They're very spiritual, and they tend to be more enlightened than the rest of the elements. But metals can be very singular, and they tend to not have time to think of others, which can be hard for the other elements to understand. Metals don't do this, to slight anyone. They at the core are definitely humanitarians, but because they're so ready to embrace spiritual enlightenment, that sometimes they put themselves first instead of others so that they can attain that. And they definitely do strive to make the world a better place. And when they have the means, they're very charitable and very selfless. But they do tend to be perfectionists towards others and themselves, which can create a lot of disappointment in their lives. They're on a search to find the gemstones of life and bring beauty in people and environments to light. It is important for metals to not let their perfectionism debilitate them, though, because being more accepting of both their and others' imperfections are key in life, because none of us are perfect. So, if they could embrace almost some more earth element and really, take people and events with both the good and the bad without judgment, they could really thrive there. They can tend to lack in numbers of companions because their main quest is to free themselves from earthly possessions in order to achieve higher consciousness. So if you're a different element around a metal and you're feeling heavy emotions of sadness, regrets, challenges, or any other strong emotion, this can really put off a metal person because they don't have time for that stuff. They're on their spiritual journey, Life is full of heavy emotions, and metals take it as it is and move on from there. They will tend to move away and detach from relationships that do not enhance their own journey, and they can definitely seem indifferent to feelings and emotions when relating to people. Sometimes this can come off like Spock from Star Trek, if any of you guys know who that is. Metals can learn to accept others' feelings as an experience of life. So if they can really open their heart organ and allow them to be more flexible in relationships, they would really not only set themselves up for disappointment through others, but be a more warm, kind person. These are the people that don't need a pat on the back or any type of adoration. They're always calm, cool, and collected. They do not engage in drama or conflict, and they love making plans with people and engaging in activities that will meet their high standards. If they feel like there is any type of shallowness going on in a relationship, they will easily detach themselves and not engage with that person any longer. So these are the people that like to surround themselves with others that are also moving forward on their spiritual paths, or if they're not spiritual, maybe they just want to surround themselves with people that are in the same phase of life. Metals highly enjoy structure and schedules. They like to follow the rules, and sometimes they can even be robotic in the way that they speak. This element is very, very similar to the element of the wood because both elements are practical and methodical. But whereas a wood person would get angry, the metal person will just detach and move on. with little or no emotion so that they can avoid conflict or tension. They avoid drama at all costs. They're organized in work and like to feel in control of situations, but they don't need to be constantly doing something, like the wood element. When a wood element gets bored, they try and find the next projects, but the metal people, they can find a meditative state within themselves and not be hurried to finish things. Metals can also see life how it is, even in bad times, and they tend to rise above it. They like to follow, gurus and spiritual leaders to get through their own hardships so that they can balance their mind, body, and spirit. They aspire to higher causes and want others to do so too. So they will try and help others reach their personal best and try and help them achieve excellence. When in true balance, metals can radiate the divine and can help themselves and others feel honored, uplifted, respected, and healed. But if you do not fit into the metals version of achieving higher spiritual development, they will definitely end their relationship with you politely without any arguing or struggle. They say goodbye, they move on to someone else at that standard that they require. And this can definitely come off as cold and detached. But in the end, the metal is just doing themselves a service and respecting themselves enough to let you go so that they can benefit themselves. And, I don't know if this is just America or maybe it's all countries, but we tend to stick around in relationships that no longer serve us too long because we're so worried about other people's feelings, or if you're an earth element like me, you're scared about change. But the best thing that you can do for yourself is to surround yourself with people that are going to propel you forward and not keep you stuck in the past, So the metal people like to have very meaningful conversations, such as like the water element did. And small talk tends to irritate them. Life is more spiritual to them, and talking about irrelevant things really can tick them off. They definitely enjoy solitude and can go days without speaking to anyone when they're trying to get back into balance. The self-reflection for the metal person is absolutely key. But when the metal person gets stressed out, they tend to get stuck in a loop of doing the same thing over and over again of what is already not working. It's almost like, say they were trying to fix something and they followed the directions perfectly. They'll keep going over the directions over and over again, even though it's not fixing anything. It's not solving anything. Because they try and focus, on analyzing everything that they were supposed to do, even though something's not working. So if they could just get out of their heads and move into their body and go and find a different solution, maybe with some creativity from a water element, they would be much better off. They try and focus on the best case scenario and analyze how to get there by looking at facts, documents, and whatever else that they can. But in order to stay balanced, metals must remember that they definitely need to connect with people and act in the actual ground beneath them, and not to gravitate towards, a path of too much solitude and just a path of spiritual enlightenment. Because we are humans having a human experience here on planet Earth. Imperfection is part of the journey of being human. We are not all perfect. We all struggle. We all have, sad emotions, traumatic experiences, and we all need help from others. So, if the metals could be more open with their faults and share them to others and accept others' faults, they can truly connect with people, offering them genuine companionship, and they can truly achieve balance that way. Okay, so before moving on to how the elements appear in the house, I'm just going to read over the chat again. Oh, wow. So I think you definitely, Joan, you definitely have to have some earth and metal in you too. One of the more famous people that I read about that was an earth and metal person was Princess Diana. and she tended to do a lot of work with, a ton of people, and helped out a lot of people and loved a lot of people and did a lot of volunteer work. So that's super awesome. So let's get into the elements in the home. So our homes are our second skin. Just as we see the elements in nature, it is important for us to incorporate all of them within our homes to achieve optimum harmony and balance. By knowing your elemental archetypes, this can allow you to thrive even more within your home and strengthen the elements that make you who you are. I want to also note that there is such thing as a destructive cycle. For example, if you were a water element and you had too much earth in your home, it can diminish your water element, which can send you out of balance. This is not something I'm going to talk about in this webinar, but I just want to let you know that that is out there. So right now, I just want you to concentrate on what your personal element is and how you can add more of that into your home. So water in the home. This is, appears as glass, mirrors, crystals, any type of reflective surfaces, flowy, wavy, free forms, black or darkened tones. Blues tend to represent water, and also like any type of water element, such as your faucet or your shower or your kitchen sink. That's all, or even if you have like an indoor fountain, that's all water element in your home. Yeah, so glass vases, bottles, pitchers, any type of glass dinnerware, serving pieces. But you can definitely see a lot of the water element, and like I said before, water fountains, sinks, bathtub, showers. Windows and mirrors tend to be the most common. So wood in the home. Wood is anything made up of wood, including furniture such as chairs, tables, consoles, any type of cabinetry that you might have in your home. Plants and flowers, even if they are fake. Wood flooring, wood paneling, anything that's like columnar shape. Vertical blinds, materials made out of cotton, rayon, or even silk, actually. So this can appear in like your pillows, drapery, or any type of fabrics that you have. Wood element is also rugs and carpets. The fire in the home is any type of natural light or artificial light that you have in your house. This can also be seen as candles, a fireplace, your stove, triangular lampshades, or anything that's a triangle shape. Red brick and pets and people. These are fire elements because we're in motion, we're moving. So humans and pets represent fire element. Any type of leather upholstery or wool. And if you have any animal skins or rugs or throws in your home, that is a fire element also. So the earth element in your home can be seen as baskets, pottery, containers, any artwork that depicts the Southwest or landscapes, any type of like pottery, flower pots. It can be seen as square or rectangular items such as tables, terracotta, brick, tile flooring, tile backsplashes. And again, I'm going over this so that you, sometimes homes have an overabundance of a certain element. So you might, be going through this and being like, oh my gosh, my whole home is basically a wood element. And that might diminish your personal elemental archetype. So I just want you to start becoming aware of what you are surrounding yourself with now that you know what your archetype is. And the last one is metal. So metals in the interior, these are your appliances, your granite and slate countertops, any type of marble, aluminum, or stone finishes, even copper finishes too. This can also be seen as concrete, shells, salt lamps, wrought iron railings, metal chair legs, metal table bases, wall clocks, metal art, crystals, and gemstones. And also white, light colors, and pastels. I tend to see this a lot. A lot of people are heading towards having very white, light colors throughout their whole home. So be careful of that if you don't associate it with the metal element so much. It can almost feel a little bit sterile sometimes to the other elements. But that is it for them in your home. I'm just going to catch up on the chat again, and then I'll continue on. Oh, that's awesome to hear, Joan. I'd love to learn more about what you're doing. We should connect after the webinar for sure. Okay, so how do you start transitioning this material? So if you could start looking around your home, noticing what makes you happy and what doesn't, and just using your intuition purely, going, around each item in your house and seeing, does this resonate with me right now? And if you feel like it doesn't, definitely get rid of it, and bring in more of what makes you happy. Definitely declutter the unnecessary items within your home, because no matter what element you are, if you have clutter in your house, this is hindering you from bringing in the optimum, chance that you could potentially have of good fortune, of good chi coming into your house. It can also block you from moving forward, and you don't want to get stuck in the past. We are all here to move forward. And then again, adding in items that support your element into your house. So moving forward, if I have your permission, I hope I do, just to go over some of my offerings here. So if you want to move forward with Feng Shui, you can head over to my website. And this, we can really work with this to enhance your internal elements throughout your whole home, and also create optimum balance within your house using the elements and within your body too. And I also like to announce that I have a decluttering course that is now open. This will allow you to let go of the past, move forward with everything that you want to do with your life. And then again, once everything is decluttered, adding in elements to support your archetype. So